I believe when you color your hair, it's like putting a lot of makeup on. You can totally pull it off. You will look younger. With the eyes of people in this society, you will look younger. If you have a twin sister who colors her hair and puts it next to it, she will look younger. It's just because we're just totally conditioned. However, it's so important that we conserve our energies. And if I put makeup on, red lipstick, whatever, the typical thing, color my hair, everybody expects me to be this dynamic looking like 40, blonde, dancing on the table, entertaining. But the truth is, I'm not that person. I do not have the energy. I believe the body. I have now my silver white kind of a mesh energy, meaning I don't have to work hard right now to be that high-powered person.
Welcome to Unmute with Priya, the podcast where silence ends, voices rise, and women rediscover the freedom to speak and live authentically, especially in life after 40. This show is proudly sponsored by Project Icon. I'm your host, Priya Sudarsanam. Let's dive into today's conversation. My guest today is Linda Hollatz, founder of Hair Garden. Linda has spent years helping women address the hair loss and thinning hair. But as you hear in this amazing conversation today, it's so much more than hair. It's about confidence, identity, self-worth, and how women navigate the changes that come with aging, stress, hormones, and life transitions. Linda, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Priya, for having me.
This is going to be a fabulous conversation. I just was having conversations with women over the weekend and it was around hair because they were saying, oh, I used to have so much hair. And there was this sense of loss and sense of self that I'm thinking about themselves at 18 years old when they had this thick head of hair, and then now they were 50 and it was so thinning and they could see their scalp. And there was this grief that I sensed in this person that I was talking to. So this is going to be an amazing conversation for people. Tell me a little bit more of the main question. How did you get into hair?
Well, yeah, you just mentioned hair thinning and hair loss. There were several experiences when I grew up that sensitized me to the theme of hair. One was that I was 17 years old and I had hair loss. I mean, it was really started to fall out. And with falling out, it's not just a few hairs. You have to have like tons of hairs on your pillow. And every time you touch it, you have hair in your hand. I mean, and no one could help me. And that led me, on a path of, searching and until I found, help. So that was one thing. The other thing was that I always felt really estranged in hair salons. It felt very weird having several people work on me, putting this cape around me, wetting my hair, cutting, and then maybe another person did the cut or washed it. And then, so of course it felt weird. And my soul or my spirit knew that there must have been, there's much more sacred. There are many more sacred ways of dealing with hair. And that, I mean, I was a teenager. I felt that there's something off. And then the other part is, which we talked about, was that they are called, I mean, if some of the people have heard of hair pulling disorder, there are these behaviors that are called body focused repetitive behaviors like nail biting and skin picking and chewing your tongues and lips. And those are not bad habits. They are they're close to OCD related behaviors. And so I grew up with that. My family's had these, and then I developed some of those too. So that was another thing, how I got involved.
So, I mean, you just said something that sparked my interest because I am a nail biter. I've been biting my nails since I was 5, and I noticed that. And as you were talking, I'm sitting here with my hands under the keyboard and I'm picking my skin and my cuticles just out of habit. So it's not a habit. These aren't habits. These are almost OCD behaviors. Tell me a little bit more about that.
Yeah, I mean, they can be habits. I mean, again, it's a spectrum. If someone just watches a movie and bites their nails off, once in a while, that's obviously just a reaction, a spontaneous stress reaction. And some of them can be habits, but usually when the behavior cannot be stopped through one's will, when the urge is so strong, the intensity, the time spent that is actually compromising someone's life or schedule and relationships, then you would say this could be, a clinically diagnosed OCRD, obsessive compulsive related disorder.
That's I don't think I've ever heard that. Just as far as it comes to when you think about hair or nails or things that we're doing to our body. Yeah. So I was having another conversation with somebody who's a hairstylist, and she's gone into this deep spiritual journey, and she's said that, she even said to me, hair is more than just hair. This is your crown chakra. If you think about energy and energy centers, what would you say to that? Like when you're touching somebody's energy centers, like people think, okay, I'm just going to the hair salon, I'm gonna get my hair cut, but it's
Yeah.
a whole.
Yeah, no. And that is part of the most important thing. I mean, I work when I work with people's hair, I practice a technique, a philosophy. It's called hair balancing. It was founded by a man many, many years ago by William Yond. And this hair cutting technique and approach incorporates, yes, the chakras, the aura, the energy field, but also the craniosacral system, the 9 bones, especially that hold our skull together, the acupuncture meridian system. That's just those, right? Plus sacred geometry as well. So that's something I consider and apply with my work. But that set apart, having someone, I mean, being in a chair and having someone stand behind you with a sharp tool is always just requires a lot of trust. And cutting someone's hair is very intimate. It just always is. And people are by nature vulnerable because they are sitting lower than the hairdresser, and the hairdresser has a sharp instrument. I mean, even if, that's just the fact. But yeah, that's
Yeah.
what mind. But yeah, the crown chakra, but also the crown chakra obviously is anchored to the pineal gland, but the third eye, which is anchored to the pituitary gland, is also up there in the head. So yeah, and what are chakras? I mean, they're spinning wheels. People can see them or feel them. So when you cut, kind of go through them, right? So these are thoughts that we also had, and we colleagues who are also working holistically with hair. What happens and how can you optimize all that?
I have goosebumps as you talk about like these wheels and cutting into them because
Yeah.
most people aren't thinking about that. They're thinking, I want to go get a new hairstyle. But then some people leave that salon. I know it's happened to me a few times that I've just felt icky once I left that salon. And it was probably because I was in a vulnerable place and it wasn't respected or honored the way that you describe it. I think if you went to a massage therapist, you're taking your clothes off, you're in a vulnerable place,
Yes.
that it's
Yeah. Yeah.
similar. The head is similar there. And I also appreciate what you said about that vulnerability. I did have a teacher at one point who had lost a family member, and it was a sudden death, and she went to get her hair done, and the hairstylist had her hair back in the sink, washing it, and then started talking about the loss. And the woman couldn't get up because she's getting her hair done, and it enraged her. I remember her talking about this, like, you're in such a vulnerable position, and somebody's talking to you about something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that is actually the one thing that I want to encourage everybody to try next time. I mean, if the person who cuts your hair talks about her or his divorce or anything, it just goes in,
Yeah.
right? It's just don't. Request a silent haircut. Request, close your eyes and say, can we just, I need to relax. Everybody, send an I message. I need to relax. I really need to not talk for a little bit. Would you be willing to do that? I mean, most people would say, of course, right, I can do that. And that would make things already easier and better. Plus, if people talk about themselves, and I don't exclude myself, which is why I do not talk about myself when I cut people's hair, I'm not 100% focused. I mean, some people can do multitask and do a lot of things, but the focus isn't there. And also, if you are, the worst thing is, I mean, if someone cuts my hair and they start talking to a third person or answer the phone, that feels scary. That feels so like, what's going on?
Yeah, wow, there's so many layers to this. It's
Yeah.
more. Yeah. What are some of the misconceptions that women have that you found around, changing hair as we transition? This is Unmute with Priya, and this is for women at midlife. So in your
Yes.
experience, what are some of the misconceptions that women have?
Mm, well, first of all, that hair can be an And I say that as a person who dedicated a lot of hours and days to the theme, but hair is just hair. It's women can be feminine, sexy, beautiful. They can be everything without hair. It's people always, and when someone said, well, the three things that most women want when asked, what do you want to express with your haircut? What do you think, Priya? What are the three things that women want?
They
How
wanna
do you
look
want to look?
they
Hmm?
wanna look younger.
Okay.
They wanna look younger. I mean, that's the biggest thing that comes up for me if I think about myself. When I used to go get my hair cut, I wanted to look not my age.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's actually interesting. That's not one of the
No.
three thing. Yeah, because I ask all sorts of women, also the ones who don't need to look or want to look younger. So yeah, the ones are number one is feminine.
Mm,
And again, I'm just talking right now about obviously heterosexual females, who want to look feminine. There are also I have clients who want to look, not feminine. They want to look masculine. I mean, but feminine and sexy. So second, and the third one is something like sassy, fun. And that is not just in America, it's in Denmark, it's in Germany, it's wherever. It's those three. But the younger, you're right. That's the one that's important for women, whatever, over a certain age. And I usually tell people, literally, it is not the hair itself is hair. What makes hair look feminine? What makes hair look sexy? What makes hair look fun? If you really analyze it, it's not the hair. It's always the person, wearing the hair, moving a certain way, feeling feminine, sexy, and fun. So it's basically just turn on that button, that part of you that flows, that feels feminine or sensual or sexy or feels fun. And the hair, if it's short or medium or long, it doesn't matter. It only matters if the hair is, what I agree, would be really thin or chemically damaged. Then, of course, it does not look vital. And then first thing, you need to get it back to health.
yeah. I I say the younger part, and I'm giggling just because of the circumstance that I was in. I was feeling like I needed to look younger than I actually was, so I was coloring my hair, and because my roots were growing so quickly, it was like every 2 weeks, so I knew I had a ton of chemicals in my head, and then plus the hormones, the stress of the situation, and I think a lot of have you found that women are looking for external validation with that hair? Like, if they have long, flowing, beautiful hair, that they're going to get perceived differently than if they had short gray hair or, letting their gray hair grow out.
Yeah, but it really is. I mean, I have also talked to a lot of men, and I asked men what do they find attractive. And again, for the audience, I'm doing the heterosexual thing right now. It's easier for me, but I could expand into other, groups as well. But just for that right now, and most men, I mean, it's so surprising. I would say from all the conversations, and it's not a scientific paper here, that men do in this society, in our American European society, do like long hair on women in general. They do like it. The color is not as important. And I've had friends and clients negotiate with their husbands even, or, with themselves. And it's like when they want it, yeah, that I hear just like right now some men telling me that, yeah, I don't mind if my wife has gray hair at all, but I love her long hair. I just wish she keeps it. Something like that, really lovingly, not like owning another person's hair and controlling that. So the color is not even that important. And yeah, so I think a lot of it is fueled by the media. A lot of it is fueled by an industry who makes tons of money. I found over the years that the happiest hair people are people with long hair, but they also will bring, the least amount of money because they don't need to wash their hair that often. They can do different things with their hair. Whereas when you have short hair, it takes a year or two to grow it out. So if you do have this human need for variety, then what can you do? You can only color it. But once you color it and it's short, you need styling aids. So, and you need to have it recut. So that really brings a lot of money, which I think is, and that's one myth I want to share with all of us women who are over a certain age, is that people say, or the industry or the media says, we over a certain age, long hair just makes you look old, you know? And it's like, and I'm like, really? It doesn't make me look old? Or do you just want me to buy products? Because long hair, you don't need a lot of products. I mean, people know, even just people think, oh, I have long hair or thicker hair, whatever, I need a lot of shampoo. No, we only wash our scalp. We do not need to wash our hair. Why? It's not dirty.
Don't have to wash this part. We just need to wash our
No.
scalp.
Yeah.
Huh.
Scalp surface obviously is kind of the same for almost everyone. But the hair itself, yes, it has a little dust, it has a little something. But once you go and shower and wash your scalp, that washes off. But you don't ever, I mean, that's actually one of my tips. Definitely do not rub your hair, do not wash your hair because it will roughen up the cuticle layer, make it more frizzy and more and drier. It's simple. It's so simple, but it really works.
Yeah. So what have you found when we're not taking care of our hair or just honoring it for what it is, honoring that crown chakra and this energy center? What are some of the consequences that you see it of not honoring it that you've seen in your practice in all your years of being a specialist?
I wouldn't bring in the crown chakra here in that sense. I mean, in the energetic sense, it's more like we could bring it in, but as a whole concept, right? Honoring who do we let us touch and work with us to just take a little bit more time and maybe look for that person who has a little hair salon, nearby, who only sees one person at a time, where you have privacy, where you can, and just taking a little bit more time. You cannot expect these people to be spread around the cities because it's a whole different school. It's a whole different practice, these big salons. And so, yeah, I would just be a bit patient. I would ask my intuition, who is the right person? And I would always prefer a person who I'm friends with, where I feel they love me. And even if the technique is not perfect. So do it yourself, or have a sister, a real sister or a friend sister, or a brother cut your hair, or a child or a partner. And I mean, there's so much out there. I have a bunch of videos if people want to write me that I did about do it yourself and how to cut people's hair and friends' hair. And there's so much out there on the internet. That I think is really important. And hair cutting is a skill, I believe, at a basic level, just like gardening, changing a tire, cooking. It's not that hard. So that's very important for treating it respectfully. Choose who touches your hair and who cuts your hair. And then choose love and affection and kindness and gentleness over maybe technique, precision, right?
Yeah. I absolutely love that you said use your voice to say what you want. I need you, like, if somebody starts talking about themselves, I that is such great advice because if you go to a doctor, you're going to advocate. We want people to advocate for themselves. If we go to a massage therapist, you're advocating for yourself about how the touch, if it's too much or too little. So why not in the salon as well? Or why not when you're getting hair done as well in such a vulnerable place, using your words, unmuting to
I'm
get,
muting. All right. And I did it. I got up from the chair. I had once, I went the one time where I thought, oh, I'll try it after years of just having my teacher or like-minded hair professionals who do my hair. And the moment he touched my hair, it was just, I almost got a headache. And he said the words, you know what? Your hair isn't really doing anything for you. And I'm like, okay. And I got up and left. I said, thank you. We're not a match. It's not, that does not work for me. So yeah, I did it. And in a restaurant too. Yeah, you got to unmute yourself. If the food is really cold, I mean, then just say it. I mean, people, it's a mistake or whatever. But yeah, you got to, but in the chair, it's important. And one more tip for people also maybe who have hair thinning, who are vulnerable, who have hair pulling disorder. Again, find this hair professional that you feel is kind or is nice, or you just have some attraction to. And you could always ask them if they would see you after hours or on a day when not so many people are in the salon, and offer to pay a little bit more.
yeah. But
And
that's a great idea. I never even thought about
then usually they love that too, because they are like in a in a routine, but they love to also, I mean, a lot of friends I know, colleagues, they love that.
Yeah. So Linda, you are in the midst of doing you're studying a lot, you're doing different things to share with the audience what you're doing now with because Hair Garden is changing and you're in the process of getting your PhD, is that correct? Your doc
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
yeah, it's a dream come true. And another, yeah, it's quite an unmuting process because, you have to defy the odds. And because when I applied, I was 55 or something, 56. And yeah, I'm just about to defend my dissertation in psychology, in clinical psychology. And my dissertation theme was hair pulling disorder and similar hair disorders and hair care, and how a mindfulness-based hair appointment could possibly influence the symptomatic behavior. So I did an intervention, a pilot study, and of course you can't never do causal conclusions, but it was a really incredible experience bringing together 43 women with hair pulling disorder and hair professionals who took my training. And yeah, I'm almost done with that. And yeah, and and again, at this point, I do want to encourage women and men, everybody, also if it's later in life, to pursue their dreams. And in my case, it was a dream to do this, and I only could do it later in life.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
This is amazing. And what you're studying is so amazing too. I think it's going to help a lot of people because I think when just even talking about the nails, like my hands are constantly in a fist because I feel a lot of shame around my fingers and how they look. My mom is always joking saying your fingers are disfigured just because of years of, 55 years of
Mm.
nails. And so with hair and just having it be, with my hands, they're always down below me and with hair, it's right out there. So I think, have you found that there's a lot of shame that goes with that hair pulling?
Absolutely. It's huge because it's visible, but the community is growing worldwide, the awareness, and, just to shatter the shame associated with this. Yeah. And the stigma. And yeah, there are a lot of, courageous affected individuals who will walk out with the patches and they will openly talk about it. And yeah, just regarding the nail biting, again, it really is. I mean, that was a big thing in my family too, but I was lucky because in my family, my grandparents and my parents, it was kind of understood that it was because of trauma. And in our family history, it was because of the war, in Europe, that my grandparents had to escape. And I mean, everything they went through when they then bit their nails. I mean, it's just like, yeah, we knew, I mean, it would be great if they could stop, but we knew it was one way for them to just cope the insane stress that has. And there is even some research being done that in some countries where there's war, there are more people engaging in nail biting and hair pulling and all that. Obviously. I mean, it's just also one big way how we can survive. And whatever it is in your story and other people's story, I believe that ultimately it is a self-regulating behavior that helps us to survive and make it through.
Yeah, it's a great that you're bringing light to this and you're even stating it that way makes me feel seen and heard for it and not like I can actually talk about it that it's, and then just with the friends that I have who do pull their hair that it can be a conversation. It's nothing we have to hide. So I really commend you on bringing this to the surface and I'm
Thank you.
love that you're going to have this PhD in it. You're defending soon. Where do you see this going in your career?
Well, I already started my next project and at the University of Graz, which is in Austria. It's a pilot study. The next theme I really want to do is these body focused repetitive behaviors, especially the hair pulling. And now it comes the menstrual cycle. And I would love to do research that spans the whole lifetime because I believe that it's also it's influenced by hormones. And that brings me to this important theme of the menstrual cycle and menopause. And that's where my next research project will go to. And professionally, I will continue to teach this hair balancing method and work on books and yeah, we'll just continue all that.
Can people travel to see you to get their hair done? Come all
Yeah,
the way
they
here?
can.
Yeah.
They can. And I'm both the US and Germany right now, but I'm going to definitely relocate to the US, to California next year.
Amazing. I am definitely
Yeah.
I have family that lives in California, so I will come to you because I wanna.
Yes, you and me. That would be so lovely. I would love to spend time with you.
Absolutely. This has been an amazing conversation, Linda. I feel like we could talk for so much more about all the different topics, menopause, and all the different things that are changing in our body. Sometimes it's just happening before our eyes and we don't even know because we're so busy as women getting things done. So to actually have this conversation, I would love to have you back on once you're doing that new research project and talk about what's changing in our bodies even more.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
so for the woman or the man who's listening to this episode and they're noticing changes in their hair, they're resonating, nail biting, they're resonating with the hair pulling, they're thinking, "Oh my gosh, this episode is for me." What words of wisdom do you have for them if they're in this journey, they don't know where to start, they don't know how to address it, and they don't know how to get help for it because they've never seen it as an issue because it's been so automatic?
Yeah. Well, the whole right now, they could, of course, always write me an email and I'll see where they are. I get emails all the time, and I know people in networks, even whatever, in the UK, in Europe, in the US, in Australia. They could Google it. There are self-help groups, there are organization. In America, it's right now the International OCD Foundation who has absorbed the whole BFRB community and is working to accommodate them. So there's already a huge network. And I love self-help groups are phenomenal to start. They can be online, even if you're in a little village somewhere. So that all could be taken care of or moved into the right directions there. I want to say something about the women and men in regards to menopause and when the hair changes that I've observed over the years that, I mean, for women especially, that once they let their hair grow out naturally, it might in the beginning be a little bit unruly because all of a sudden there are no pigments anymore left, but to just stick with it because I have experienced it and seen it with my clients that after a time where, the woman stops bleeding and then the hormonal cycles, the hair can even get better again and stronger and smoother again. I've seen that many times. So I definitely, yeah, it's a different type of hair. And what you said earlier, wanting to look younger. I had a lot of women said, what do you think about me, coloring my hair blonde, let's say 40, 50, 60, whatever. And I said, well, I personally had my blonde days way back, or I had my brown hair days. And I believe when you color your hair, it's like putting a lot of makeup on. You can totally pull it off. You will look younger. With the eyes of people in this society, you will look younger. If you have a twin sister who colors her hair, puts it next to it, she will look younger. It's just because we're just totally conditioned. However, it's so important that we conserve our energies. And if I put makeup on, red lipstick, whatever, the typical thing, color my hair, everybody expects me to be this dynamic 40-year, looking like 40 blonde, dancing on the table, entertaining. But the truth is, I'm not that person. I do not have the energy. I believe the body. I have now my silver white kind of a mesh energy, meaning I don't have to work hard right now to be that high powered person because that's stressful. And that's one thing I wanted to share, that it's so relaxing to be yourself in your natural hair.
What a way to end. I think that is a great message to just even embrace in general, that as we step into this second act of life, go in with authenticity, go in being ourselves, and we don't have to perform anymore. So amazing. Linda, we will make sure to put all your links in the show notes so that people can contact you. They can email you once
Yes,
they've
that'd be
listened to this
lovely.
episode. This has been a phenomenal conversation, and thank you for what you're doing.
Thank you, Priya, for having me here and being also so authentic and honest. And yeah, thank you.
And this show was brought to you by Project Icon.